Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only Ray the Flying Squirrel here, and I am back for yet again for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos, as always. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC Steam, and of course Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we have basically managed able to start the game off already by able to actually go through a lot of tutorials and also say replies to able to explore around on, you know what I mean with when it comes to the forms of the Bikini Bottom hub world. So, and also in addition to those kind of stuff though, we also did manage able to did done the first half of the forms of the Jellyfish Fields. So as a result though, we're doing pretty decently, I'll admit that. But as a result of that kind of stuff though, there are some, problems with it, such as, of course, you know, every time you die, then there's a lot of loading screens every time you're able to respawn back into where you came from. So as a result, though, it can be very annoyingly consistent, especially noticeable, it will tend to drag on every once in a while, especially noticeable if you try to do some harder challenges later on. So today, for this video, is the fact that we're about to be able to continue things on in Jellyfish Fields, and exponentially, we're also able to keep on collecting more, not only Patrick socks, but also just golden specials in general. So either way though, it knows what it is for the most part. So yeah, let's get this thing to it. So yeah, a few things we want to explain for this point today, while this is going on, is the fact that today's date is of course the 7th of June today, in this case in 2022 today. So relatively speaking, actually, darn it all, that stupid knockback just somehow managed to ruin the experience all in all. Oh well, but at the very least we got the checkpoint, so at the very least that's that. So, anywho, so as a result of that kind of stuff though, some interesting stuff has been happening for the sake of the forms of, well, a couple of days actually. Like, for example, that, usually that most, bronies seems able to actually just recently watch through, you know, My Little Pony Make Your Mark, Netflix special, and for some reason, most people seem to never overly keen on, most notably because, well, nothing to do with the forms of, the visual style, although despite the fact it was actually a low budget in comparison to the movie, which is the new generation, because usually the thing is with the movie though, it has a lot of fluid animation, as well as the forms of the fluid movements, and heck, even especially noticeable about the fact that, well, relatively speaking, that the visuals look so gorgeous in the movie. Whilst the forms of being medium forms of how it does it on the actual Netflix series, despite it being in a low budget, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, something being between the forms of the animations or movements feels a bit slightly quicker or something like that. Well, I have no comments for this point right there. But anyways, let's move on to the next segment, where we meet up with Mr. Krabs.
Ahoy there! Squidward tells me you're looking for the king jellyfish.
Yes?
Good thing, too. That monster has been stinging all my good customers in their poop decks. I hear that you can find him up top of Old Sport Mountain here. Go hook that beast, sailor!
Oh boy, Mr. Krabs. I'll see what I can do.
So from here, we were able to actually just to go back outside again, and because of this though, now we can able to actually just do some more things here and there. There's that platform right there if you really want to go back to the caverns, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So anyway, so it looks like we stumbled across the actual robot, where basically every time he decides to able to use his gun and what have you, he's probably gonna use it to use tartar sauce in order able to try to attack you, including with that cardboard inserts of not only Patrick, but also SpongeBob, and even Sandy Cheeks. So, yeah, we got to able to try to deal with this guy very fast. So, anywho though, aside from all that stuff though, recently, about the fact that it's been about a few days ago actually, where basically, excuse me, that basically we actually got ourselves the first kick demo for the sake of the forms of Mario Strikers Battle League Football. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, it's pretty interesting all things considered. However though, most people seem to be very upset recently for the sake of the forms of about a few days ago. Now it's probably because, or actually generally speaking, it's been about 11 days since when most people are never really big fan of this particular system with, you know.
Hello, Patrick. I've got a job for you to do.
Oh boy.
I found a golden spatula, but those robots out on the island stole it and threw it into the lake. If you can figure out how to get it back, you're welcome to it.
Sure enough, Mrs. Puff.
Although, unlike any forms of how it does in one of those episodes that he somehow always calls Mrs. Puff, you know, Big Fat Mimi. Or Minnie, whatever you want to be more specific. Even though it has been, you know, a very long time since I actually watched the SpongeBob cartoons, because, well, despite the fact that most of these YouTube clips are actually just, you know, got copyrighted, so because of this though, well, I was expecting if I was trying to able to watch those amazing seasons from the past again. Mind you, because the Forms of the Future seasons got a lot more downhill recently, because of the Forms of the character development and all the other stuff. So as a result of that, that's pretty much as far as we can able to say for this point. So, anyway, with the forms of that particular Mario Strikers Battle League football that just managed able to recently got its news, despite the fact that we only got about 3 more days to go until the game actually comes out recently. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, there are some interesting news. However though, there are some negative news that were able to actually just to point things out. Although, the positives though is the fact that obviously, like I said before, we actually got ourselves the Mario Strikers Battle League Football First Kick demo, so if you want to able to test it out for free, then by all means you can do that. You know, it's kind of like the forms of the test fire for the sake of the forms of test fire demos for certain Splatoon games and all the other stuff, especially noticeable with the forms of ARMS as well. However though, about the fact the matter is though, is just the fact that, oh, and also say applies to the forms of those specific tournament demos for the sake of the forms of Mario Tennis Aces back in 2018. So yeah, you probably get the idea of what I was trying to say about this for the most part. So anyway, so with the forms of Mario Strikers Battle League Football, when it comes to the negative news and stuff like that, unfortunately though, much like the forms of how it does it on, well, let's just say Mario Tennis Aces and Mario Golf Super Rush, and even especially noticeable with other Switch games here and there, like for example, new Switch, Nintendo Switch Sports, and especially noticeable with Kirby Star Allies. Once again, they obviously going to be putting up with the forms of free updates coming update syndrome, which I know that might tick people off, especially because if they somehow enjoy the game quite a bit, then as a result of that kind of stuff though is the fact that during the later months to come, then obviously they'll lose interest, which that was a bit of a worrisome, especially noticeable with the in comparison to, you know, Mario Smash Football, or Super Mario Strikers, or essentially Mario Strikers Charged Football, or Mario Strikers Charged. Excuse me, I got something on my throat there, so I do apologize for that. And also, I do apologize if my voice is actually getting a bit croaked up, but I'm still fine as it is, so... Oh, well, that's what I was supposed to do. So basically, I'm gonna have to able to stun those enemies until I'm able to actually just to pick them up, and then just try to able to destroy those particular things itself, whatever you want to be more specific. So as a result though, I think we have to destroy 5 of these things. So, and then if you've done that, then basically the golden spatula will be ours to keep. So, anyway, so yeah, it's kind of annoying about the fact that, well, unlike the other 2 Mario Strikers games, that basically you do able to actually get other additional characters if you somehow manage to able to unlock specific conditions. Like, for example, like in Mario Strikers Charged Football, that you were able to actually unlock 3 of those characters throughout the majority of roads to the Striker Cup. Like, basically you get Bowser Jr. if you somehow manage to win the Fire Cup, and then if you win the Crystal Cup you get Diddy Kong, and the Striker Cup you get Petey Piranha. So as a result though, and also same applies to the forms within Mario Smash Football, where there's only one unlockable character in particular, which appears to be the Super Team, and you must able to beat them in the Bowser Cup, at least as far as I'm concerned. So, anyway, so now we're done with that. Oh wait, there was actually one more. There we go. So everything else checks out there. Especially noticeable, it really helps that we can probably expect able to get the golden spatula just right down here. With that particular leaps of faith in mind, but hey, at least it's something I suppose. But anyway, so let's just backtrack for a bit, and I suppose we should probably able to continue things on, just trying to explore around on this particular... Oh, actually, gotta think about it. Let me just head back into here, So just in case that, I think there was actually that one in particular golden spatula that I somehow managed to ignore. So I think we can probably do the same exact movements as the forms of how it does it from, well, the one we just did from earlier. So we can probably do it from here, so... Although, sure enough, this might take a while. Although I wish I thought I was trying to able to do the quickest method if possible, by able to actually warp back to straight to Mr. Krabs, and then just try to able to actually go back into the cave section again. But for some reason, I just choose the longest road, so I would able to actually do the quickest method if possible, but either way though, it knows what it is, I guess, but still. So anyway, another thing I would like to explain about this while this is happening is the fact that recently, that Nintendo just recently announced there's going to be another Star Wars game is going to be on its way, not too long actually, until tomorrow actually, which appears to be buddy forms of Star Wars, the Knights of Old Republic to the Sith Lords, and that's because of this though, that game will be eventually going to be released until tomorrow, so yeah, it looks like that 2 of those Star Wars RPG games are now going to be on the Nintendo Switch, but only on digital sadly, so because of this though, it's kind of underwhelming where it's all digital only, which can be also applies to Sonic Origins, but it doesn't bother me too much though, because obviously I can simply disable to actually access those games in the quickest time possible, so at the very least that's that I suppose. And another thing I want to explain when it comes to the forms of the My Little Pony stuff, for those who are the bronies out there, that I've noticed about the fact that one of those gamers that whoever experienced a Maritime Bay adventure so far, that they somehow managed able to come across into that particular glitch, where basically you can able to actually do a speedrun tactic, which as a result though, I think that particular speedrun timer is actually going to lead you to about roughly 27 minutes, which is much shorter than the forms of how it does it on, well, certain games out there. So because of this though, yeah, I found it a little bit convenient of how that's being represented with. So anyways, let's stun those robots and try to toss the actual one of those robots into the Switch. And that way we can able to not only just try to get rid of the duplication machine, but also get ourselves another golden spatula. So I suppose that Sonic has forgot to able to do that back in the original version of this particular game. But that's okay though, because he did it at the end. So anyway, so now we're done with that particular segment. So now let's go ahead and move on to the majority of the rest of the, you know, Jellyfish Fields and stuff like that. So... And as far as I'm aware, I think we have to take control of SpongeBob this whole time because, well, seems totally obvious because of the forms of that particular bubble wand, and as well as from that, a very useful advantage for, you know what I mean.
You haven't been driving.
Of course not, Mrs. Puff. I don't even have a license.
Oh, good. Then it was just another bad dream.
Hi, you always managed able to put up with the forms of that massive rant when SpongeBob was attempting to able to get the driver's license, but either way though, it knows what it is. And in fact, you will come across into Mrs. Puff a lot of times for some specific segments of certain worlds coming up. Like, I do know for one thing, because, well, it's hard to tell, because it has been about... I won't classify for saying it's been about 5 days ago since we actually last touched this, because obviously that Maxie is still carry on playing Super Mario 3D All-Stars in the Super Mario Sunshine portion of the game, because, you know, summer themed and stuff like that. And also worth noting for us the fact that recently Maxie has now recently finished up with Mario Party 8, in addition to the forms of Super Mario Bros. For the NES, just for the sake of likely trying to compare to the original over to the likes of the forms of certain remasters, or to be more specifically, the SNES version, so meaning Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo version or the Wii, depending on what version you get, so, and also the Switch Online membership services for free, which, you know, still is kind of weird about the fact that Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo is the only, you know, 35th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. Related thing that still usually goes on in live. So either way though, I honestly don't mind about it too much, because obviously that game is not going to be going anywhere. So because of that though, at least that's a good thing. So speaking of which though, when it comes to forms of everything else I would like to discuss, recently I somehow managed able to win back into Mario Kart Tour again, and because of that though, we now moved on to the next tour, which appears to be we're going back into the Cat Tour again, after the events of, you know, when Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury's celebration of its release. You know, that last time we actually got ourselves the, well, Cat Peach and Cat Toad, and then any falls within New Year's Eve kind of syndrome or something, that's we actually got ourselves Cat Rosalina and Meowser. So the only question is though, do we get Cat Mario and Cat Luigi? Turns out, yes. Because as a result of that kind of stuff though, in addition to able to getting ourselves, you know, Cat Mario and Cat Luigi for the actual remaining cat forms, based off of the playable characters from the likes of in Super Mario 3D World, well, mind you, except for Meowser, because Meowser was the final boss in that game, in addition to Super Mario Maker 2 as well, for the sake of the forms of story mode. So, but yeah, in addition to those, we also managed to able to stumble across the returning track from the likes of in Mario Kart Double Dash, and that's what appears to be buddy forms of Baby Park. So, gee, I couldn't imagine of how chaotic this one could be. Although it will easily be chaotic though. But either way though, I haven't exactly touched upon it for a while. But I will talk you more details about that until whenever we're able to continue our uploading schedules on this for the most part. So, I guess there's not much else to say about this, I must be honest here. But, anywho. So yeah, when it comes to other things I would like to mention, obviously about the fact that it's been about, also in 5 days ago, is the fact that we actually got ourselves, oh, really? Okay, that's fine, because I somehow managed to able to respawn back into that, the inside portion of that particular alcove cave or something like that. Well, mind you, I didn't pay attention to that particular, things itself. Oh, the checkpoint is usually to somehow activated if you managed able to spend on shiny objects. Okay, that's fine. Oh yeah, I should probably also mention about this actually is the fact that obviously if you couldn't tell that we're still on 2022. So back in the forms of about almost 2 years ago, when this game first came out on multiple platforms, either on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC Steam. Now apparently though, that during later on the forms of 2 years ago, that basically there was actually a patch of the game, where basically though, what it does is that basically this allows us to able to actually just, well, I think I should probably save that conversation until, you know, whenever we get to the very end of this particular Let's Play, not until anytime soon. Until specifically, possibly until on July, because as far as I'm aware, that me, Mighty, and Pac-Man will potentially try to able to say this for this point, that we will definitely going back onto The Simpsons Hit and Run, during at some point until at the very end of next month on July, so just in case we can able to actually finish up with the rest of the forms of certain Let's Plays for this point and onwards. So that's why I've decided able to actually just to say for this point guys right about now. So yeah, you probably get the idea of how that's going to be represented with. So oh yeah, and another thing I would like to mention about this as well, I guess, is the fact that, well, is there something over there? Although, to be fair though, I didn't pay attention to the actual draw distance, because, well, then again though, if I'm somehow missing something here, then obviously I will be able to actually be back for this, assuming if I'm trying to able to actually get the actual next, you know, bubble moves in order to able to learn, so. Because I do know for one thing that with those footsteps, that basically if you somehow manage to step onto that particular foot switch, basically that it'll actually activate something which we can't obviously do right now, just because about the fact that we need to learn those specific bubble moves and all that stuff. To be more specifically, that if you're following the original version of the game before, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Both are Bubble Ball and the Bubble Missile abilities. So either way though, because as a result of that kind of stuff though, I think we should probably save the majority of the forms and everything else to be more specific, so. Oh, oops, I think my phone just went off. So yeah, I apologize for that particular background noise you'll be hearing, because I think Bubbles did somehow manage to text me for some reason, saying that, aren't you gonna come outside and all that stuff to able to actually enjoy a nice sunny relaxation? But I'll do that as soon as I finish this particular recording session, so... Oh, and by the way, with those wall jump segments right there, only SpongeBob can able to pull this off, because obviously with Patrick though, there's a good thing that we actually select SpongeBob to begin with, because obviously that Patrick cannot learn the ability to wall jump, so... Very understandable stuff for the most part right here, so anyway, so it looks like we're almost there to the King Jellyfish, so in this case though, after we went for this particular gate, then after another loading screen, then I'm pretty sure we'll bump into Bubble Buddy, so before we start the first boss in the game.
Bubble Buddy! Gosh, everyone is trying to help out today.
Step quietly there. That King Jellyfish is just up at the top of this path. Good luck. You'll need it.
Thanks, Bubble Buddy.
And that's all he has to say. So, and of course there are some spare pants if you really want to able to grab them, in case if you're low on health, so...
I knew the King Jellyfish was big, but who knew he had such a beautiful voice?
Anyway, so let's get into the first boss in the game, which appears to be King Jellyfish. If you remember that particular King Jellyfish in one of those episodes in SpongeBob SquarePants series, well, mind you, about the fact that it has been a very long time since I actually seen that episode, since in the, let's just say at the beginning of 2010s or something like that. Well, that's only mainly because that, I believe... I'm not exactly sure, but usually I didn't exist during that time for Ray the Flying Squirrel for the sake of character appearances until, well, you know, the beginning of that, you know, very, very terrible year so far. Wow, I have no idea why I'm saying things weirdly enough. So anyways, he is the easiest boss fight in the game because obviously all he really does, he just likes to hover around for a bit. And then if he does manage to able to hover around for a bit, he able to actually do this particular attack, which I swear to God, is actually kind of difficult able to actually just to avoid that attack. I have no idea why that I say things weirdly enough. Well, mind you, because of how the fact that you have to be so accurate with all that timing and stuff like that, especially noticeable with your bubbles one swing, so as a result of that kind of stuff though, it makes things a bit tricky on this version, unlike the original though. But regardless of such though, it still looks really, really easy for the entire boss fight itself. But yeah, you probably get the idea about that, so... I could have able to actually activate that particular idiot box teleportation thing, but we have to do it for boss fight first, so... But as far as you were able to actually get into the later portions of this fight, that basically though, that every once in a while, that, you know, the pink jellyfish, along with the blue jellyfish, just somehow managed able to come in for a bit, and then as a result though, they're trying to sting you, so there we go. And from here we get ourselves the jelly, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, and then I believe we need to take it to Squidward until he basically becomes a little bit better after trying to deal with a lot of injuries here and there. So anyway, so I think we've only got 2 golden spatulas left for the sake of the forms of Jellyfish Fields, until we basically just guarantee that we might able to actually just well, continue things off at this point. So anywho, so another thing I would like to explain about this while this is going on, recently, about the fact that, well, I already mentioned about this before, that recently the PlayStation has already managed able to announce recently for about 5 days ago, where, you know, they obviously managed to announce there's another State of Play presentation for the PlayStation recently, which I'll talk more details about that and during at some point until on this coming Thursday. So just to classify if you're able to actually realize that, well, you probably already know about the fact that with all that announcements that came. So, well, apart from the fact that there's one in particular thing that most people are very excited about, or something like that, which appears to be the PlayStation VR 2, So either way though, that I will talk more details about that, like I said before. So anyways, it feels like I'm missing something here, which I'm guessing it's more accurately one of those socks. So hopefully we'll try to able to do all that stuff though. So hopefully we'll try to able to grind as many of those shiny objects as well. So well, dang it, I somehow died. Hi, oh well, no big deal, but at the very least we somehow respawned back into the beginning portion of that slide portion, so I guess that's that, I suppose. So, anyway, so another thing I want to explain about the forms of what happened on the news recently is the fact that recently that we actually got ourselves the actually gotta think about it, 2 new Super Nintendo games added it onto the forms of the Switch Online membership services, and 1 NES game in particular. Well, I'll start with the easiest one out of them all though, where it comes to knowing certain games, where it comes to adding certain stuff on the Switch Online membership services so far. The only NES game we actually got, it appears to be by the forms of Pinball. Oh god, Pinball. I remember that game, especially noticeable just to play through, well, you know what I mean, NES remakes and stuff like that, because, well, despite that, it can be felt a bit luck-based when it comes to accurately, like, trying to get high scores and stuff like that, but it knows what it is for the most part, so, and I'll get into more other details about this in a moment, because I think we somehow warped back into the beginning portion of Jellyfish Fields, and able to meet up with Squidward, so, hopefully, we're able to complete it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that feels so much better.
Anything for my best friend Squidward. Can I rub some on?
What if I just gave you this?
Such as the golden spatula, which to be expected at this point. So yeah, we got every single golden spatulas in Jellyfish Fields. The only exception being is the Patrick socks, but that's only mainly because we'll save those during a later time. So anyway, so now we're done with that. So I believe we're now moving on to the next world, which appears to be Downtown Bikini Bottom. So, and exponentially, that we might able to actually stumble across the 3rd and the final playable character, at least specifically in the story mode, because as far as I'm aware, like I said before, this particular remake does have multiplayer, which I'll save that conversation until in a later time, because either way though, we just barely got started with the game, so anyways, let's begin with Downtown Bikini Bottom, so hopefully get some more golden spatulas in the process.
Downtown Bikini Bottom, once a bustling metropolis, now a debris-covered crater.
SpongeBob, the robots are destroying Downtown Bikini Bottom. We have to evacuate.
All right, but it's gonna take a while to get all this dust.
Not vacuum, evacuate. We have to get everyone to safety.
Can we just load them up in the boats?
That won't do any good.
Why not?
Because the robots have taken all the steering wheels.
Couldn't we just drive in a straight line?
No, there are too many turns.
Those fiends, they thought of everything. Never fear, Mrs. Puff. I'll get those steering wheels back.
SpongeBob, if you're involved, I always fear. But I tell you what, if you can pull this off, I'll give you a golden spatula.
How about a driver's license instead?
Nice try.
Something's worth mentioning for the sake of that particular text box with a golden spatula text. They forgot to space it out. Well, I'm guessing it's more likely because they didn't have enough room to able to actually fit in the most accurate text box if possible. But anyway, so now we stumbled across another enemy which involves around then like a sorcerer or a UFO, depending on what specific type you into or something like that. Well, then again though, it has been about 5 days ago since I, you know, last recorded this, so yeah, forgive me if I botched everything else for this point. Oh, Gary's up there. Just watching the forms of how the actual, what these enemies can do to us, so I totally get that, so Anywho though, another game they did added in, and well, I've already mentioned it with the forms of Pinball, was now added onto the Switch online membership services when it comes to game updates. They also decided able to include another shovelware stuff. In this case, we do have Rival Turf for the Super Nintendo, as well as the forms of Congo's Caper, also on the Super Nintendo as well. And never actually heard about these games at all. Just because, well, never really into the forms of those kind of shovelware games and stuff like that. Although, to be fair though, that they did manage able to recently added in some, well, more games on the Super Nintendo right now. So because of that though, could it possibly be able to actually imagine that we can finally able to actually get ourselves Super Mario RPG in the future? Well, it's hard to tell because either way though, I haven't exactly looked upon that much of Nintendo Switch online membership services when it comes to game updates and stuff like that, so I must be honest here, I have no clue of what's going on. So, oh yeah, and another thing I would like to mention, speaking of the forms of the Switch online membership services, is the fact that apparently there was actually a patch that it did recently became a thing, ever since since Friday, which is to be more specifically for about 4 days ago, that recently that Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards has now finally got its patch fixed. Because you remember with the fact that if you stumbled across the third boss fight throughout the whole game in Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, where basically if you accidentally manage to get involved with that particular one of those attacks, and then if you get hit so many times, then you're about to get stuck. And as a result though, you won't be able to move. And as a result though, that can get a lot of frustration, especially noticeable if you try to able to speed things up a little bit. And what makes it all worse is the fact that back in the forms of a few weeks ago, that might be the fact that, well, relatively speaking, you have no control over it, and thus I don't think you can able to actually pause the game or something like that. I have no idea what I'm saying about this, because, well, I don't usually play that much of those retro games on the Switch online membership services, especially because I'm still pretty much used to with, you know, Virtual Console lineup for the Wii, Wii U, and also 3DS as well. So, relatively speaking, there's not much else I can say about it. But at the very least, they did somehow manage to fix the patch right now, so thankfully you don't need to come across into that specific issue ever again. Oh, and by the way, if you come across into over the red lines, as you can see, basically though, you would miraculously try to able to, well, get out of bounds, and then as a result, you die instantly if you've been on that particular area for too long. So, something to keep in mind. So, anyway, so the main collectible in this world is, of course, the steering wheels, which naturally there are about 11 of them in total, so hopefully we're able to actually guarantee that we will able to actually grab the rest of those steering wheels if possible, if we manage to be able to keep on exploring well enough for the entire world itself. So, yeah, that basically explains it. So yeah, potentially speaking of the forms of the free updates situation for certain Nintendo Switch games every now and then, like with the forms of Mario Strikers Battle League Football, that basically maybe, just maybe, that there might be still a possibility that we can probably able to actually finally get Daisy during the next couple of days or so. Well, mind you, because of how in fact, I know a lot of people seem to get very, very ticked off with the forms of that particular notifications being added, like, you know, free updates shenanigans, and as a result though, it can be very inconsistent to most people, especially because, well, after playing for so many minutes or something like that, and then next you noticed about the fact that they haven't touched upon the game for such a long time, but then Nintendo just out of nowhere just somehow managed to mention something related to a shadow drop for, you know, free update syndrome. I'm sorry, this whole free update system, although I don't mind it, but the only thing is, the only problem with this is though, is the fact that if you haven't touched upon the game for such a long time, and then basically, if you somehow managed able to be had enough with the game, or to be more specifically, like, there's actually some cup battles, much like the forms of how it does it on, you know, Mario Smash Football, or essentially Road to Striker Cup, from the likes of any forms of both games respectively, luckily. But as a result of that kind of stuff though, is the fact that if you pretty much 100% everything in Mario Strikers Battle League Football, but then Nintendo decides to able to add it in free update syndrome, and then basically though, that's, well, I have no idea why. It's hard to explain, because I know for the fact that, well, usually, as I said before, a lot of people don't usually care about free updates anymore. Just because of how, in fact, it just gets pretty sickening, especially noticeable if they're really hyped about the forms of other games and stuff like that. But then, as a result of that kind of stuff, that they do realize that the actual content is pretty much unfinished for certain Switch games, but then they have to wait for a ridiculous amount of days or months, depending on the forms of certain stipulations, and it's just, I'm sorry, this whole free update thing is just all about ranting. Like, I just hate ranting. I just want to get this out of the way, just because it just feels a bit, well, all over the place, or so overly used. Like, I know for the fact that, well, relatively speaking, they did somehow manage to get a free update on Super Mario Party during the forms of the online play for as a test, so just before when Mario Party Superstars exist. So either way though, it's hard to tell at this rate.
This door is locked from the inside. Who would do such a thing?
Beats me, Bubble Buddy, but hopefully we will come across into that solution until whenever we continue proceeding for this, I suppose. So, anyway, another Patrick Stock over there. So, at the very least, that's actually super duper easy to able to obtain itself. So, anyway, so let's see if how, actually gotta think about it. Let me just go ahead and go here, and then destroy that robot, and then spend, so many of those shiny objects. Oh jeez, it's gonna get a little bit more pricey at this point. But I'm pretty sure the amount of pricing with those, shiny objects might be exactly the same as the forms of how it does it in the original, though. At least as far as I'm guessing so, anyway. So, anyways, let's go and turn into this ball formation, so that way we can able to go a bit faster.
Meow. Yes, thanks for noticing. I have been working out. Meow. Not done? Doesn't that mean... Meow. Oh, that's the entrance to the rooftops which leads to the lighthouse? Aha! There's another golden spatula. I could really use that. Meow. What do you mean get Sandy to help me? I can get through this. Meow, meow. Oh, that gap looks big. Okay, I'm definitely not making that jump. How is anyone going to get across there? Uh-oh, more robots. Holy Dutchman's ghost! That gap looks impossible! And impassable! Okay, I'll go get Sandy to help me out.
So yeah, it's a good thing that, well, Gary just somehow managed to able to keep on meowing so many times because, well, something important happened, and that is something to do with the fact that with that particular gaps you have to make, that SpongeBob cannot do because we need to switch over to, you know, everyone else's favorite playable character throughout the entire game, which, as a result, you know exactly what I mean. That's what appears to be none other than Sandy Cheeks, so that should be pretty, obvious by that point. So, and speaking of which though, is the fact that, remember with the films of that particular trailer, for the sake of the films of SpongeBob SquarePants, the Cosmic Shake, the video game is about to be on the horizon. I'm very curious about the fact that what the playable characters that brings us into. Like, we definitely already know for the fact that probably SpongeBob and Patrick might be the playable characters or something. I don't know about Sandy Cheeks though, because everyone else seems to really enjoy playing as her, because as far as I'm aware, her movesets is so amazing, especially noticeable with her karate moves, as well as the forms of utilizing the forms of her lasso to able to deal with not only certain objects, but also with the forms of trying to deal with the forms of enemy encounters much easier. And heck, even especially noticeable with her lasso that you can able to actually just to, well, hover in the air for about a couple of seconds or two. So yeah, as a result though, that, you know, Sandy Cheeks is without doubt is the best character in the game, just because about the forms of certain platforming skills you must able to actually master itself. So, well, usually relatively speaking, that's as far as I can try to explain about this for the most part, so... Oh yeah, I suppose the final thing I should probably explain about this is the fact that, oh yeah, let's talk about the forms that make your mark Netflix special for My Little Pony that apparently most people never overly keen on that particular special for some reason. I mean, I think it's okay for the most part, especially noticeable about the fact that we're still pretty much used to with the new voice actors here and there, as well as the forms of, well, the visual style looks pretty cool, well, despite its on low budget. Well, I see some very gorgeous grass textures here and there, and especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking, well, the lighting is okay, and the actual shading on the character models do feels a bit kind of darker. And on top of all that stuff, though, is just the fact that the actual movements feels exactly kind of reminds me of the forms of like Madagascar animation movements and stuff like that sometimes. I've no idea where I get that idea from, but regardless of everything else, though, I think that's as far as I can try to explain about this. So, but hopefully we'll see some more series in the future, though, to be more specifically with that. You know, the actual proper series is starting, especially noticeable. Well, again, I'm not going to spoil for you guys out there, especially noticeable for those of you other bronies out there, because, well, it's the most recent thing that did happen for the sake of the forms of the past few days ago. So, anyway, so we got ourselves another stock, and we need to, like, use her lasso to able to go all the way back here. So hopefully we would be able to grab onto the sledge. And then, hopefully, before I carry on trying to explore for this place, I need to make sure I need to keep on exploring just in case if there are certain socks I was currently missing. But hopefully we will be able to actually just to see what this is going to be happening. So, speaking of one of those socks, there's another sock right there. So hopefully we're able to obtain that. So 15 socks. So in addition with another trophy as well. So how's that for that? Because, kind of thinking about it though, one thing I should probably mention about this also is the fact that with My Little Pony Maritime Bay Adventure, I suppose that me, Mighty, or Pac-Man have mentioned about this. I'm not exactly sure, just because it's been a couple of days since we actually last played The Simpsons Hit and Run, but hopefully we'll be back into that game at some point until next month, so generally we're able to actually hopefully try to finish up the game, and join at some point in July, like I said before. So, anywho, because as a result of that kind of stuff though, depending on what version you get, either the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One or Series X, depending on what consoles you got, it's actually super duper easy to able to actually get yourselves achievements or trophies for that matter, because, well, as far as I'm aware, because usually relatively speaking, that, well, it's so easy to able to do some easy tasking and stuff like that. So, well, mind you, again, it's been a very long while since I actually mentioned something like this, so, excuse me, I'm really sorry about this point, guys, especially noticeable, despite the actual commentary is a bit meh for the most part today, but that's just mainly because of how the fact that, honestly, guys, that's as far as I can usually try to explain about this for the majority of this conversation, so, anyway, so let's go ahead and use this idiot box teleportation thing, so that way we can able to instantly go back onto this particular spot, and exponentially we can now move on to the rooftop segments. So, and I think this is where we get out to use Sandy a lot for the sake of the forms of this particular rooftop segments.
Hey,
so,
Larry, what's shaking?
Sandy, boy, am I glad to see you. I need your help. My TV reception has been terrible lately. I need to have someone replace my old antenna with this shiny new one.
Yes, sir. That there antenna is shinier than a $3 bill. Well, why don't you replace it yourself?
I'm not really much of a jumper.
So, what's jumping got to do with it?
Because the old antenna is up there.
Woo! That's taller than a glass of Texas iced tea.
The robots have blocked off that building, and I can't do all those fancy moves you and SpongeBob do to get across these gaps. All I can do is flex! Wanna see?
Yeah, great. So what are you gonna do with the old antenna?
Oh, that? It's yours if you replace it with a new one.
Well, I have been getting bad TV reception in the tree dome. Okay, Larry, you got a deal.
and unfortunately we're low on time at this point, so I think we should probably end things off at this point right here, so join me next time for more of Let's Play of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, and that is the fact that we'll continue exploring through Downtown Bikini Bottom to able to grab some more golden spatulas, and you name the rest. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Later, fellas.